Hello humans, welcome to Perspectives. This is a cinematic journey through architecture and design spaces where we discuss the past, the present, the future, the culture, the people, and the life that wraps around it. Today we venture into the world of Maximilian Jencquel.
I was very lucky to be born in Venezuela, in Caracas. It's a beautiful country, it's a beautiful culture. And then I decided to come to Bali and doing a project. Obviously I've lived here for 10 years and I find it interesting and I've learned so much about Balinese architecture, but I'm by no means a specialist or the most knowledgeable person in Balinese architecture. Inspired by Balinese or Indonesian crafts and Indonesian architecture or elements of Indonesian architecture and locally inspired architecture. It is architecture that tries to use local materials and tries to take local shapes or forms or infuse it with something that makes it fit in to the environment.
Saya punya circle. Pakai circle itu saya bisa sampai kalau tebal sekitar 15-16 kita bisa potong dua sisi udah belah.
The whole process of having from finding the woods, getting it out where it is, oftentimes it's in the middle of the jungle in Borneo, like really deep down in there because it's a bridge, getting it onto roads, so you need to get it on a lorry that needs to be big enough, and the roads need to be big enough to get it on there. You need to get it out there onto boats all the way into Bali through the legal process of having everything checked. Until you have a final finished product that you can use on a construction site, the process is huge. I mean, it's people don't realize it. We're getting semi-processed, which is they pretty much give it a thickness which is even then, so it goes into the planer and we get like a 2 centimeter, so that each piece is 2 centimeters thick, and then they put it into another machine which will cut the edges so that the width is standardized. But the top, they're just cleaning it with the water jet, just to clean it and get a lot of the dirt that's been in there for a long time. And so it's what they call here at this factory, they call it semi-processed. You know, when we're designing a home and we're using standardized woods, it's easier. We say, okay, we want all the joists to be 5 by 10, or, you know, like we give them a certain dimension and order it from a factory, and that's the way it comes. When you're working with this, every single piece is different. And you need to account for that when you're designing. So it's a different approach. Coming here and setting up Studio Jencquel was a manifestation of many things to unfold and to come still maybe. And one of them was obviously this love for nature and the tropics, this interest in vernacular architecture and learning from how people have built for hundreds of years and trying to integrate that into a contemporary way of building. Yeah, so this entrance here I'm very excited about because it took years to get to this maturity where it is now, but it's I'm not a landscaper or a trained landscaper, but I really do love playing with the gardens and having that possibility to be playful here and do this. It sounded like a great opportunity for me to expand on what I had been building on with the art. That's how the masters in interior design came to be at that point. Decided that that's the path I wanted to take. Well, most of it is Indonesian local materials, but then we used Italian marble to say, okay, well, we do have an element of Italy coming in here. We try to, wherever we are, whether it's a project here or it's a project in Europe, we try to work with local materials. That said, we don't make it a rule that it has to be 100% local. Ultimately, I'm somebody who's traveled around the world, so oftentimes we're trying to blend, or we'll bring in materials from outside, but it'll be a very small percentage and there'll be a reason for it. This is a beach club that we're doing down on the coast, close to Canggu in Batu Blik. And we're developing this umbrella which, as you can see, is vaguely inspired by the palm tree leaf. The idea is that you can see this wood here. At the moment, we want to make it foldable. Initially, we wanted to do it completely foldable, like the fans, you know, these hand fans, like the Chinese
traditional
fans that kind of fold together like that. But we're realizing that it's going to be technically quite challenging. So at the moment, it's just folding like a book. This here is usually how we organize our projects. We have a folder that we call a souche, and these are all the current drawings that we're working on with annotations that we have from meetings, annotations that I make for my staff. And so every project will have one folder like this in the office. And if we need to discuss a project, then we know that we need to get this folder. And this, what we're looking at right now, is a hotel project that we're working with together with Andra Martin. He's the architect, and we're doing the interior design. Here in the background, you can see this is the idea of having a woven art piece that we're thinking of getting Lim from BYO Living to produce. You don't see it so well in the renders here, but there's a lot of rattan elements that we're also wanting to integrate Indonesian weaving techniques.
Are they bio-living components as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, these, the ceiling, and this. I'm hoping that we can get Lim involved in all of these, because it's going to elevate the project absolutely to the next level, and it's great. Part of our job, I see it as a teamwork always and as a collaboration, and you will notice that a lot of Studio Jencquel's work is collaborating. So we've collaborated with Yuquan Chung, we've collaborated with Alexis Dornier, we've collaborated with Ibuku, we're collaborating with Andra Martin, and we're collaborating with many other architects. You know, BYO Living is one of them that we like working with. For me, the privilege to be involved in working with them, because they've been working for many years together, and they did the pavilion for Venice, which is such an incredible, you know, like powerful, you know, like creation, and to be, you know, not to be working with one or the other, to be actually working with both of them on one project is just like explosive for me. That's like. Well, it was, for one, the idea of vernacular, for another, the closeness to nature, yet still luxurious. Thirdly, this possibility of doing something that is good for the environment. And I started getting really interested in bamboo architecture at that time. And there was an architect in Colombia, Simon Vélez, that I was studying. And people would make fun of me at school because I was walking around with the same book. It was this book called Grow Your Own House. And it was this idea that you can grow bamboo and build your house out of it. Because bamboo wasn't being used in Venezuela, or isn't being used much in Venezuela. And it's being used China, India, Indonesia, Colombia, many countries around the world are using it. And I thought it was such a brilliant and great material. And I thought, why is nobody in Venezuela using it? And I'm going to be the first one to use it. And this is the project in this curved shape. And it reaches up to 9 meters. So we needed a building that was at least 9 meters high. And I didn't want a building that stands out in the neighborhood and that you can see from everywhere. And so the best way was to do a building that really encompasses that trajectory of the shuttlecock. So the motion of it.
Where it travels.
I feel like all of my dreams are coming true on this island. For me, the most obvious thing to do was to break completely with everything that I knew at that point again and start something completely new. And putting myself into that challenge and coming to Bali, and this is where I'm starting something, and knowing that if I were to, that by doing that it would force me to find, I would have to struggle and fight through a way, and this was going to help me find myself as a designer and shape that voice. I think like any designer, we go through periods and we go through an evolution and we go through a maturing process, and it's something that is not static, it's something that is permanently movement. So I'm still thinking that I'm in 40s, I'm still very young as a designer and architect or interior designer, and I have the feeling that the next 20 years or 30 years are still going to see a big evolution in my work and in the way that I approach design and how I feel about design and how I feel about sustainability, and all these things are still in motion, they're liquid. Yeah. And so it's exciting to be in that process and being aware of that.